All right, guys, we are going to be reacting to German Leopard crushed 25 Russian tanks in just 48 hours. Thank you so much for the support, guys. Please make sure you guys share and comment as well. It seems that I'm a little bit of shadow ban because of the strikes that we're dealing with, but we're going to keep putting a lot of great content, guys. Make sure, again, if you can help the channel, you can also do it through the super chat. That'll be that'll be good as well. But in the meantime, let's just enjoy ourselves. Let's just keep reacting.
5:42 a.m., July 29th, 2025. The silence of the southern Ukrainian steppe was shattered. The rumble wasn't distant thunder. It was the sound of Russian tanks, dozens of them, grinding forward through a foggy morning, engines screaming, turrets sweeping left to right. A full armored battalion, nearly 40 tanks strong, supported by artillery, had been ordered to smash through Ukrainian lines near the Zaporizhia front. For Russia, this was supposed to be the hammer blow. Break the line here, pour armor through, and finally reclaim lost ground. But what they didn't expect, waiting just beyond the tree line, was a new predator. German Leopard 2A6 main battle tanks, freshly delivered to Ukraine only weeks earlier. Their crews, trained in secret bases in Germany and Poland, were now about to face Russia's steel fist for the first time. The question was simple: could a handful of Leopards stop a tidal wave of Soviet-designed armor? Or would they, like so many before them, be burned out wrecks on the battlefield? What happened next would stun military analysts worldwide. In just 48 hours, German Leopards tore apart 25 Russian tanks, rewriting everything Moscow thought it knew about modern armored warfare. This is the story. Russian commanders launched Operation Iron Spear, a concentrated armored assault designed to overwhelm Ukraine's stretched defenses near the village of Malotokmachka. The attack formation was classic Russian doctrine: waves of T-72B3s and T-80s, backed by infantry fighting vehicles and artillery strikes.
T-72s are big too, right? They're not that small. I think they're kind of wide in the corner.
Ukrainian trenches. Drone footage later revealed the sheer scale: columns of armor advancing across wheat fields, dust clouds trailing, barrel flashes lighting the morning haze. For Ukrainian infantry dug in on the front line, the sight was terrifying. RPGs and javelins could only do so much against that many tanks. The order came: fall back to secondary lines. But the retreat wasn't panic. It was preparation, because waiting behind them, concealed in hull-down positions and camouflaged by netting and brush, were the Leopards. At 6:14 a.m., the first Russian tanks crested a ridge, and the hunt began. A Ukrainian Leopard 2A6 locked its fire control computer onto the lead T-72. The range, 3.2 kilometers, well beyond what the Russian tanks could effectively return fire. The gunner squeezed the trigger. The 120mm smoothbore roared, the tungsten APF-SDS round slicing through fog and steel. In less than 2 seconds, it punched through the T-72's frontal armor, igniting ammunition inside. The explosion was catastrophic. The turret of the lead tank launched skyward in a plume of smoke. Russian crews froze. That was their mistake. Within 12 minutes, 8 Russian tanks were burning wrecks. Leopards, positioned in overlapping fields of fire, were striking with precision, retreating into cover, then re-engaging from new angles. The secret wasn't just superior armor or guns, it was optics and coordination. Leopards could fight at night, in fog, in conditions where Russian tanks were half blind, and every shot they fired was guided by years of NATO doctrine drilled into Ukrainian crews. For the first time, Russia's armored spear was meeting a shield it could not pierce. Day 1. The battle raged from morning to dusk. Russia launched 3 armored pushes across different axes, hoping to overwhelm the Leopards with sheer...
I have to say, when they're talking about Russian tanks, they show this American tank from World War II. Man, come on, bro.
Numbers. Each time, the German tanks shifted positions, ambushing from hull-down ridges, using drones to spot targets. By 9 p.m., when the smoke settled, Ukrainian commanders counted 14 Russian tanks destroyed. Entire companies of T-80s littered the fields in burning heaps. But it wasn't without cost. One Leopard was hit by artillery shrapnel and immobilized, though the crew survived and escaped under cover of night. Drone footage of the day's battle spread rapidly on Ukrainian social media. The world saw blackened hulks of Russian armor scattered like tombstones across the farmland. Day 2. At dawn on July 30th, Russia doubled down. Reinforcements rolled in, another 20 tanks and armored vehicles, this time supported by heavier artillery barrages. But Ukraine was ready. The Leopards weren't fighting alone anymore. HIMARS rocket artillery and precision-guided howitzers worked in tandem. As Russian armor clustered, GPS-guided shells rained down. By afternoon, the battlefield was chaos. Russian commanders ordered desperate frontal assaults, hoping to force close combat where Leopard advantages would shrink. But Ukrainian crews maneuvered with discipline, using the Leopard's speed to reposition faster than lumbering T-72s. At 10:47 a.m., a Russian T-90 attempted to flank a Leopard position. It never fired a shot. A German tank round ripped through its armor. By 10 p.m. of the second day, the tally was staggering. 25 Russian tanks destroyed, and the Leopards, only one knocked out. 3 others with minor damage, all repairable. The battlefield looked like something from the Gulf War. Charred wrecks, melted steel, turrets blown off, tracks twisted like ribbons. Satellite imagery confirmed the destruction. Over 15 kilometers of front line littered with destroyed armor. Russian telegram channels erupted in fury. Some blamed incompetent commanders, others claimed betrayal or faulty equipment. At least 2 officers were reportedly relieved of command within 24 hours.
It could be one of the other.
Survivors described death traps, where entire tanks...
Listen, it could be one or the other, right? It can, and it's not... It could be that some of these tactics need to be modernized. Probably they might just need to polish their troops a little bit, or the equipment. It seemed like Russian equipment is a little bit behind when it comes down to this modern warfare.
Crews were wiped out in minutes. In Moscow, state TV downplayed the losses, but Western analysts called it one of the most decisive armored defeats of the war. The psychological effect was enormous. Russian tank crews began refusing to advance in daylight without massive artillery cover. Commanders grew wary of Leopard positions, slowing offensives across the entire Zaporizhia sector. The destruction of 25 Russian tanks in just 48 hours wasn't just a battlefield story. It was a global message. For Ukraine, it was vindication. Western-supplied tanks weren't symbolic, they were war winners. For Germany, it was redemption. The Leopard, once criticized for being too late, had just proved itself as the finest tank in Europe, perhaps the world. For Russia, it was humiliation. Decades of doctrine built on massed armored thrusts had crumbled before a smaller, smarter force. Soviet-era tank philosophy, once feared across Europe, had been exposed as outdated in the face of...
The T-72, I think I remember, it was one of the most well-developed tanks back in the Cold War. I mean, even Americans were like, ooh, yeah, we don't want to do anything with these type of guys. And the thing is that they built them very cheap. Isn't that crazy? They built them very cheap.
Of modern optics, training, and combined arms tactics. And for the rest of the world, it was a warning. NATO analysts noted that Russia lost $150 million worth of armor in 2 days to tanks costing a fraction of that, manned by crews trained for only months. Numbers alone were no longer decisive. For 80 years, Russia believed mass armor could break any line. From Berlin in 1945 to Grozny in the 1990s, tanks were the hammer that smashed resistance. But in the summer of 2025, near a small Ukrainian village, that myth burned. German Leopards, sleek, deadly, and crewed by determined Ukrainians, tore apart a Russian armored battalion in less than 48 hours. It wasn't just firepower, it was mastery, of technology, of tactics, and of will. The world now knows. Numbers can be crushed, but skill cannot. So the question remains, in the wars to come, what will matter more? How many tanks you build, or how you fight with them? If you believe this battle shows that innovation and courage can defeat...
I will say both. Both. You need to... some of you guys were saying that I'm kind of crazy to be thinking like this, that in the end, you need personnel. I mean, doesn't matter. Again, it happens in World War II, guys. World War II, guys, even though Russia almost lost 20 million people, they still won the war, guys. And the end of the day, and they were not even ahead when it comes down to technology. They were okay, but their tanks were not the best either. Their planes were not the best. What is most important is personnel at the end of the day. You know, if you don't have personnel, and I don't think Putin's gonna stop, guys. I'm sorry, but I don't think he's gonna stop. He will allow Russia first to collapse if necessary before he can just say, "I'll surrender." I don't think so, guys. Let me know, but hey, let me know what you guys think. I will see you next one.